He's logged in and ready to go. So let's go out to Edmonton now and join Dustin Nielson from TSN Radio in Edmonton, where the party's on. Where's the confetti, Dustin? I know you're a happy guy this morning. Your Oilers made some moves yesterday.
I have a bag of it over here. We're gonna throw it all around. Like Ken Holland could go take a. Can I say this? He could go take a piss on the Gretzky statue right now, and nobody would say a thing. Like, the guy's an absolute legend after yesterday. And for being here for 10 years, and every single year, all we do is for my show, all we ever did was talk about, will they sell anybody? Will they sell anybody? The one year they brought in Jarrett Smithson as like a deadline day ad. And then when they made the playoffs in 2017, they added David Desharnais, and he actually worked out okay. So yesterday, you saw Sunday night, they pulled the trigger on the Green trade, and all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, get some depth on the blue line. Let's see what they can add. I went into yesterday morning thinking that Tyler Ennis might be the guy that they're looking at and maybe nothing else. And then all of a sudden, Athanasiou's trade comes out of nowhere, even though obviously he'd been linked to Ken Holland a little bit. But I mean, it was, in my opinion, it was a perfect day for Ken Holland yesterday, Dupes. It was an incredible job.
Yeah, I mean, easily in my mind, and I'm sure yours too, the winners of the free agents from trade deadline day. And in our Capital Auto Mall Universal Collision Center poll question, we asked who was the winner of the deadline day: the Oilers, the Golden Knights, the Hurricanes, or somebody else. And 45% of the vote, clearly the Oilers winning the trade deadline day. You look at who they brought in: Andreas Athanasiou. 30-goal guy last year, and he's playing in a tough spot. Tyler Ennis, he's scored 20 a couple of times, 3 times in his career. So you get some of that depth scoring, but and Mike Green on the back end. But too often, we get romantic about players, right? We get romantic about, okay, Athanasiou had that great year last year, and he can skate as fast as Connor McDavid, and he's going to slot in and score 30 goals, and he's going to bring in that depth scoring. And Tyler Ennis is going to come back and be a 20-goal scorer, and Mike Green's going to be the power play quarterback and the offensive guy he was, years ago. Are we overhyping this a little bit too much, or can these guys actually come in and play well?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. But I mean, you look at what Connor McDavid's been playing with on the wings right now. I mean, he came back to the lineup and had Sam Gagner and Alex Chason on his wings. So with James Neal being out and Cassian still being suspended, maybe Athanasiou doesn't work. But the best part about all of this, and I think this makes sense, and I think this is why Oilers fans are even more happy than just the fact that they were buyers this year, is that even if this doesn't work out and they miss the playoffs, I mean, you gave up a 4th and a 5th, and then the 2 seconds you gave up to get Athanasiou, you still have him. He's an RFA at the end of the year, so he's going to be sticking around. So it was described to me today as, an all-in move for this year, but at the same time, keeping back your bigger chips, because Ken Holland addressed 3 needs, and how many people can say they've ever done that on a deadline day without giving up a prospect and without giving up a first-round pick? So, I mean, the fact that he didn't have to part with any of the things that people were like, ooh, if he's going to get a top 6 winger, he's going to have to move Broberg or Bouchard or a first-round pick. And Holland proved to everybody that he didn't have to do that. So, I mean, maybe it works out. Even if it doesn't work out, I mean, you could see Athanasiou, play with Sheahan and Josh Archibald on the 3rd line just to bring some more speed to that line as well. And we were talking about in our show today, you might see Tyler Ennis and Athanasiou on McDavid's line tonight, because there's really not much else going on there right now. So, I don't think anybody's planning for the Stanley Cup. I mean, some people might want to joke about it, but I do think what they have done here is put themselves in a really good spot to finish 1st, 2nd, or 3rd in the division. Vegas might be tough. They play them 3 times the rest of the way, including this Wednesday. So, I think what they've done here is gone pretty close to securing a playoff spot.
The Oilers are in Anaheim tonight, getting set to play the Ducks. Athanasiou, he's just 25 years old, too, so he's a young player who can come in and hopefully make something happen. But you look at, Vegas making some moves in the back end, shoring up the goaltending situation with their duo. Vancouver making most of their work happen and most of their moves before the deadline. And Calgary really not doing a whole lot, making just a couple of moves for a couple of defensemen, including Gustafson out of Chicago. Where do you see this tight Pacific playing out right now? Vegas is on fire right now. They've got things figured out. Vancouver's playing pretty well, but they're just 500 in their last 10 games. Calgary, has gone up and down, hot and cold. How do you see this playing out? Because it's so tight. Yeah, right now.
I look at it. I think the pickup that Vegas made yesterday that was one of the biggest was Robin Leonard. bringing in Leonard yesterday. I mean, when you look at Marc-Andre Fleury, and when Fleury, since they brought Fleury in, I mean, we can all joke about, the Golden Knights brought it all together. Let's be honest. They had a goaltender who's won multiple Stanley Cups. He's an absolute stud, but he's been through some personal stuff this year, and his game hasn't been where it needs to be. And Subban was not even close to being capable of a backup. So they go out and get Robin Lehner, a guy who obviously had an excellent season last year. He's having a good season again in Chicago this year. I thought the only weak link for the Golden Knights, I love their forward group. They made some really good pickups there. Stone, Pacioretty, these guys are studs. But I was worried about their blue line and worried about their goaltending, and they've addressed both of those things in the last week. So the Golden Knights don't mess around. So I see it as the Golden Knights division to lose. I would slot Edmonton in as the number 2 team right now after their additions. I would have had Vancouver locked in at number 3 if it wasn't for this Markstrom injury news. I think that opens the door here a little bit. Calgary, I think, will be a playoff team. I think Arizona now. Darcy Kemper could come back and go on a heck of a run, and he's a great goalie, but it might take him a little while to get up to speed. So if I was Arizona, I'd be very worried about Nashville, who has 4 games in hand on them, and then obviously Winnipeg I like as a playoff team as well. So I would put Vegas right at the top. I'd have the Oilers a little bit below them, and then a healthy Canucks team I'd have just below the Oilers.
Arizona is interesting. If Darcy Kemper comes back, only Carolina has allowed fewer goals against than Arizona. I'm always scared of a team that's got good defense and goaltending when it comes to playoff time, when it's tough to score. But when you look at the Oilers season right now, we're all excited about the Oilers trade deadline day and Ken Holland's job that he did. And you mentioned how excited you are. What has to happen now from here on in for you to be on your show at the end of the year and say, this year was a success?
Boy, man, as long as they make the playoffs, I think this year's a success. When you look back at what everybody expected, when Ken Holland took over, he said, my goal this year would be to make the playoffs. And they certainly look like a playoff team. They look like a team that could possibly win at least a round and maybe give Vegas a run in the second round here. So, I mean, outside of completely blowing it and missing the playoffs at this point, I think this year will be looked at as a success. I mean, Holland, since he came in here, has managed to move Lucic, which we didn't think was possible. Not only did he move Lucic, he moved him for a guy who's going to get 20 this year, which is that's an unbelievable flip. And then he's gone out. Some of these guys he brought in, Sheahan and Archibald, they are part of the best penalty kill, or one of the top 3 penalty kills in the entire National Hockey League. And these are guys he picked up, for $1 million or less. So he's already done a really good job turning this thing around. And then, like I said, maintaining some of those other assets. So, I mean, you know what would be disappointing if they get to the first round of the playoffs, play Calgary and get swept. I think people would probably lose their mind and be disappointed with the year. But outside of that, it's almost all house money here the rest of the way this season.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, that's great. I mean, yeah, outside of losing to Calgary, that wouldn't be fun. We know that for sure. The Winnipeg Jets, I want to ask you about them for a second because they're 1 point out of a playoff spot right now. Didn't do a whole lot, a couple of small moves. Cody Eakin among them coming in before the deadline. But we find out Dustin Byfuglien, he's not going to play any hockey this year, so they're not able to move him and really add anything to help their playoff push. They're kind of in limbo right now. Where do you see the Jets, as we sit here a day after the deadline?
And this basically will come down, not like it's undifferent for some other teams, but this will basically come down to Connor Hellebuyck. I know they tried to address things on the blue line. Apparently, they would have liked to have added another defenseman as well. But if Connor Hellebuyck can play, very good to great the rest of the way, then the Winnipeg Jets, not only will they make the playoffs, I think they'll be a tough team to get out in the postseason as well, because as sketchy as their blue line has been at time, Hellebuck's an excellent goaltender when he's on. And then up front, of all the forward groups, and I know the others have McDavid and Draisaitl, Yamamoto, and that's going very well right now. But Wheeler, Scheifele, Connor, Laine, Ehlers, that is an elite top 6. So I think that would be a tough group to slow down in the postseason. So I still like Winnipeg. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I know Nashville's kind of knocking on the door, and that's really it. I mean, I guess Minnesota is still sort of hanging around, but it basically is going to come down to Nashville, Arizona, Winnipeg, and Calgary. And I think the Jets, I buy into that top 5 guys they have up front, maybe a little bit more than I should, but I think those guys alone, as long as they get, acceptable goaltending, I should be able to push Winnipeg into the postseason.
They've lost 2 in a row, but they can get back on track in a hurry. Okay, I want to ask you about the greatest goaltending performance over the weekend, and it's not the emergency backup goaltender. It's not. It's Ryland Toth in UBC. I mean, just looking at his playoff numbers, he's stopped 220 shots for UBC in the playoffs so far. It's incredible. We were listening to your call of Game 3. How cool was that? Because it was a 2-1 game win for UBC. That save he made, what was it, 2.5 minutes to go or 3 minutes to go in the hockey game? How cool was that to be a part of?
It was a phenomenal experience, and obviously, you know, being a homer for the Golden Bears, you get to a point in that game when you realize that, hey, wait a second, I'm calling something here that's pretty special because UBC, I mean, a phenomenal upset for them, and he stops 51 of 53. And it goes to overtime and gets the win on Friday. And I thought at that point, I was just like, that's an amazing performance. In fact, his backup, Patty Day, texted my color guy because he covered him with the Oil Kings. And he's like, that was the best goaltending performance I've ever seen live. And then he texted again on Sunday and was just like, actually, that was the best goaltending performance I've ever seen live. So, I mean, he was phenomenal. He made a save 8 seconds into the game. The Bears won the faceoff. Got it back to the blue line, sent 2 guys in on basically a 2-on-1 that kind of turned into a 2-on-0, and he made a similar sort of save 8 seconds in where he dove across and made a sensational save, and then that save he made late in the third period. I mean, they got pumped on Saturday night 6-1, and it was a smart move. They pulled him after 40 because they knew it was over, got him some rest. But in the 2 games that he won on Friday and Saturday, they were outshot 94-36, and he stood on his head. It was I'll never forget it. I'll never forget Ryland Toth's name and what he accomplished on both the Friday and the Sunday. It was sensational, absolutely sensational.
Yeah, unbelievable. First time in 42 years UBC is going to nationals. I mean, I know it's been a 2-team conference for a long time with Alberta and Saskatchewan, and that would have been another great final. That's always great when they get together, but this is good for the game, isn't it? Because U Sports hockey, and we've said this, you and I have been big proponents of U Sports hockey, it's so good. Outside of the NHL, it really is the best hockey in the country, but it just doesn't get the love it deserves. Will this help?
It's great hockey. I mean, maybe this helps, but at the same time, you're right. We've had 2 powerhouses, great rivalry in the Huskies and the Golden Bears going head to head for years. And it really doesn't create that much of a buzz because it's tough for people to watch it, right? Unless you track it down online. And we had a 4-camera shoot in game 4 on game 3 on Sunday. It was excellent broadcast put together by our crew, and it was only online. So it would be great if you could start to get this. And by all accounts, from what I hear, you know, it's going to be streaming live through CBC for the national championship, which just isn't enough. I mean, you know, sports has had it for a long time. I wish our company at TSN could have moved forward with that. That would have been great tournament to cover there. This will probably, I mean, this helps the buzz. This will be a great story. Ryland Toth taking UBC to nationals is going to be a great story for people who are at nationals. But I mean, who's kidding who? Very likely it'll be the Huskies and Golden Bears back in the final. I think one of those 2 teams have won every year since '95, which is absolutely insane to think. I mean, both of those teams have been absolutely incredible. So it's an absolutely tremendous product. That's why I've been doing the games for 10 years, because I'm just a fan of the hockey. It's excellent hockey. A lot more of these guys should get opportunity to go on and play, you know, in the American Hockey League and pro overseas. And the Golden Bears graduate a lot of these guys, but a lot of these other teams have a lot of these guys who could go and play as well. So it's under-scouted, it's under-covered, and it is a shame because, I mean, if anybody out there has a chance to go watch, you know, the Huskies and when they come down to take on Regina, and elite programs, absolutely elite programs with guys who are going to go on and play pro.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. It's not going to move the needle, unfortunately, until we start getting a little bit more of the coverage. And okay, we'll get your thoughts on David Ayres, the emergency backup goaltender. You do the goal songs. Did you have a song for David Ayres on your show?
No, I did not. But you know what? I love it. I don't see how anybody could be critical. And I know some people over the last couple of days in the hockey world have been saying, you know, you got to have a better goaltender in that situation. But I mean, why is this an issue at all? The dude won. I mean, who cares if he's 42 or 32? He won the game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he did not allow a lineup that has, like, they're paying $26 million to 3 guys not score on him in the third period. So it's a phenomenal story. It's great for the National Hockey League. I mean, actually, Ryland Toth of the UBC, he's on the rotation to be the E-Bug guy, the emergency goalie in Vancouver. Kenny Cameron, who's a part of the Bears, the emergency goalie here with the Oilers for the last couple of years. So a lot of these teams, at least the ones out west that I know, have these university guys that are there. But it's a 42-year-old Zamboni driver who was wearing Leafs gear underneath his Hurricanes thing, and he beat him. And now he's everywhere. It's awesome. It's an amazing story. So, I mean, congratulations to him. It's literally, this is the definition of a once-in-a-lifetime moment. This is not going to happen again for David Ayres, so he should milk it up as long as he can. And I do not have an issue with them not having, higher qualified goaltenders. They're good to go. He beat the Leafs, and it was phenomenal.
And everybody outside of Toronto, and really everybody outside of Leafs Nation, this is their hero, right? Because the Leafs generate a ton of hate, right? So it's
well, I think I saw. Isn't it? I think he got a day in Raleigh named after him. It's like it's official day for David Ayers Day. Like it's amazing. It's great.
Yeah, how cool is that, Dusty? Appreciate the update, my man, and be well.
Hey, Dupes, before you let me go, I got to say I'm on the Bucks tonight. I like the Bucks.
Okay.
I think the Bucks are going to win tonight. No, I love everything you said about the Raptors, but I'm a big NBA guy too. Bucks are a phenomenal team, so that's going to be a tough out.
Well, it's going to be fun. It would be great to see them in a playoff series.
Oh, yeah, I think we will too. I know there's some other teams in the East that could cause some issues, but Bucks Raptors, defending champs against the best team in the league, I think that would be awesome. That
would be awesome. Appreciate this, Dusty. All the best.
Okay, good seeing you, buddy.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.